We got some new numbers from our friends over at Amazon that are really pretty eye-popping, just how much of the American workforce they actually employ. So Amazon employs about 1 million people in the US. That is equivalent to 1 in every 169 workers. And actually, that dramatically understates it because those are just the people who directly work for Amazon.
Exactly.
Most of their delivery drivers, as one example, are outside contractors that aren't even included in this number. So you are talking, we always say this, like Amazon has so much control over the US labor market and what the conditions are. And that's why what they do and the egregious way that they treat their people, that's why it matters so much. I will say, in terms of direct employment, Walmart still beats them. 1 out of every 100 people in the US workforce is employed by Walmart. So between Amazon and Walmart and all of their surrounding contractors, you are talking about a very sizable and significant portion of the American labor force.
Yeah, I mean, and this is what people are always like, why do you guys cover Amazon so much? It's not just about market cap. It's about the fact that it's not just a website. Like, it's an entire infrastructure of warehouse workers and delivery drivers and more that make it possible so that you can get overnight delivery. And look, let's all admit, overnight delivery is awesome, right? It's cool. But there's a lot that goes into that. Hundreds of thousands of people, now over 1 million, work for Amazon. And they work in this company, which is virulently anti-union, which controls their warehouses from top to bottom, which tracks their steps, fires them by automated systems. Your contract uses software in many cases to track their delivery drivers. We talked about how, what was it, to set up an ottoman and all that? They were set up an ottoman, take it out of the box, to set it up and be done. I forget how long it was, like 15 minutes or something. Some ludicrously low figure. No human being could possibly do that. And then they have to race against the clock because if they don't, they'll get fired. And they won't even get fired by a human. They won't even be warned about their job performance. They're just like, yeah, you're done. This is all really dystopian. They get tracked from the moment they wake up. They don't have a lot of bargaining power. They don't really have a lot of rights in many cases in order to even, protest some of their firings. We've talked about how many of the warehouses are so large that they get X amount of time for break, but it takes half the break time just to get to the break room. Right. So then they get to sit there and then for like 5 minutes and they have to get up and go right back. All kinds of stuff going on in these warehouses. That's why you have to care. When they employ this many people, now you're the second largest employer in the United States. You have huge control over millions of people's lives. And that's a public good, not necessarily anything else.
I got your ottoman numbers for you.
Okay.
So in order to compete with Wayfair and other places that will do your furniture assembly for you, they've implemented this new service that their drivers have to do. No additional training, no additional anything, just, now you also have to potentially do furniture assembly on top of everything else you're doing. And of course, like everything else, they aggressively track and monitor whether you're meeting their standards for how long they think that the furniture assembly should take. So Vice wrote this up. And let's see, who was this? I want to give credit to this reporter. This was Lauren Gurley who wrote this up for Vice. That ottoman you were talking about, which had 59 parts. First of all, I don't know any ottoman. This is like a very complicated ottoman. But anyway.
Should have a couple legs in the thing.
Ottoman.
You screw it in, you're good to go.
This is not a screw in the leg kind of ottoman. This is, for some reason, a 59-part ottoman made by Christopher Nighthome. Amazon thought that it should take 11 minutes and 15 seconds for 2 drivers to transport the 59-part ottoman to a customer's room of choice, unpack and assemble it, and it actually took them 35 minutes, which I'm impressed they were able to do it in that amount of time, which is roughly 3 times longer than what they said it should take, and it's on and on and on, and that's just one little example of the type of burden that they put on their workers. We also talked about here how they intentionally, with their workers in the warehouse, try to burn them out after 3 years and push them out the door. Why? Because they think that these people are essentially disposable. They think after 3 years, you've effectively used the best the best years of their life, that they're not going to be able to give you as much. And so they aggressively try to push you out the door. They lock you out of being able to get promoted and end up in a managerial position or something above, above the warehouse floor. Well, that is apparently coming back to bite them. This was really interesting and revealing from the same article. They talked to Amazon CFO Brian Olsavsky, and he said that the company's demand for more employees remains very high. The demand for labor is, quote, probably one of the bigger elements of inflation in our business right now. We're spending a lot of money on signing and incentives. Adding the wage increase the company typically offers in October was pulled forward into May. So their own policy of effectively using, abusing, and casting aside their workers is causing problems for them. I mean, that's effectively what they're admitting here, is that this is a real business failure, that they use and dispose of their workers rather than keeping them and allowing them to build their skills, allowing them to ascend throughout the organization, or giving them raises. That's the other thing, is if you're always bringing in new entry-level people, you're keeping their wages at the lowest possible rate and then getting them out before they have like any health problems or anything that you might have to bear some cost for. So they're effectively admitting that this is kind of a problem for them, because they're running out of workers in this country to be able to use and dispose of in that manner.
What I worry about the most is that Amazon employs a lot of people who don't necessarily live in an urban environment. So you would basically have it so that a lot of towns, their economic value has nothing to do with what's going on in the town. It has to do with it's nearby a bigger town. And what will happen then is that, say you're 18 years old and you're working class and you don't go to college, which is like more than half of young people. What are you going to do? You have to go work for Amazon. You have no choice. It's either Walmart or Amazon if you want to get paid in your town. And so you strip away any of the actual dynamism in a lot of these communities, and then you just go work for these Fortune 500 retail companies. That's a dystopian place to be. You're basically just a service worker so that the people in the cities can get their stuff on time and free.
And then you wonder why the workers in Bessemer would vote down the union.
Right, exactly. Because they don't have a choice. Where are they going to go? Yeah.
You can't antagonize Walmart. You can't antagonize Amazon. It's the only gig in town. That's the other problem with these gigantic monopolies, is the way that it eats away at worker power and makes it so you don't have a choice. You can't stand up to them because they are the only ones offering a job remotely in your area. So look, we already knew that there were a huge number of people who are employed by Amazon. That number went up even further in the pandemic, which just served to consolidate more wealth and more power in the players that already had so much incredible wealth and power. But this stat of 1 in 169 people, which again understates the number of workers that actually are employed by Amazon, really is pretty telling and revealing about the state of the workforce in America.
It's really important.
All right, guys, thanks for watching. We'll have more for you later. Hey, guys, thanks so much for watching.
That's right. Just as a reminder, you can become a premium subscriber today. Watch the full show completely uncut, our reactions to each other's monologues. You get to listen to it. You get to ask us questions, all that good stuff. Link is right there in the description or at breakingpoints.com.
Best of all, great way to say screw you to the mainstream media.